What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Coach Falcon Chess YouTube channel. In this video, we are not going over historical games. The last two videos, we went over historical games. Go check them out if you haven't seen them. In this one, we are going over two modern day games. These games just got played in the Naroditsky Memorial Tournament, a memorial tournament for Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, who passed away. It was a big turnout. There were tons of people from content creators, top level grandmasters, and just fans in the Charlotte Chesimard area. Um, there were two sections, a master section and a challenger section. And in the master section, it was a lot of top level players, very strong players. Grandmaster Wesley So, Hikaru Nakamura, Sindarov, who is the this upcoming world championship challenger. Um, and then there was this other name. The name that we're going to go over today, Ethan Sheehan. Now, Ethan Sheehan is a national master rated, I believe, around 2400 USCF. Um, and no one expected anything crazy out of him. They're expecting to see the top level guys at the top. Until Ethan Sheehan starts beating and drawing grandmaster after grandmaster. We're going over two of his blitz games today. This first blitz game he's playing with the black pieces against Grandmaster Sam Sevian, who's been towards the top of US chess for a very long time. Peaked around 2700, I believe. And he starts with the move e4. Now, Ethan talked about his strategy in these blitz games, and it was all about the clock. A lot of people didn't know from about Ethan Sheehan previous to this. A couple people knew. He came to this because how much he played Daniel Naroditsky. He played hundreds of games against Danya. Um, and Hikaru Nakamura later spoke about how he knew him because Ethan Sheehan, while he's rated 2400 USCF, is a monster on online blitz and is rated around 3100. So probably shocked a lot of people when he came out firing. Now they're playing a classic gioco piano, very simple Italian. White decides to play d3, bishop c5, c3, d6, super common moves. And Sam plays bishop g5. This is kind of known as more of an aggressive system. If you're putting this bishop on g5, you are trying to provoke h6 and g5 for potential sacrifices down the line. A6, also a common idea, either a6 or a5, and then on the other side, either a3 or a4, very common because this knight can jump to the side and be super annoying for these bishops. So just playing a6 to drop the bishop back, also to help dodge b4 or potential d4 breaks in the future. Knight bd2, bishop a7, castles, h6, and now the bishop drops back to h4. Black plays queen to e7, and now b4. And white kind of starts mixing plans a little bit with starting an attack on the queen side while keeping this pressure alive on the king side. Black now starts to provoke him with g5. He can't break in the center, and he needs to play actively. So instead of playing something like b5 and weakening these light squares along this diagonal, he attacks on the king side and goes g5, trying to provoke knight takes g5 ideas, which just does not work in this position. The sacrifice can work, but in this instance does not work. It is way too weakening. I'm going to play rook to g8, completely just blitz you down the g. I mean, it's going to be ugly. Instead, bishop to g3 is played. Now, black plays h5, trying to play h4 to trap this bishop. White plays h4 themselves, super necessary move. g4, and here Sam Sevian goes a little bit wrong with the move knight to g5. Looks very common. Looks like it makes sense. And it does. The idea of knight to g5 is the same thing as any other move. Computer prefers knight to h2 to play f4. Sam is trying to do the same thing with knight to g5. Exact same idea. But knight g5 has one big drawback that we're going to see in the future. So the other idea of knight to g5, also putting pressure on this f7 square. So you have to play the move knight to d8, which Ethan finds. And king to h1, trying to prepare f4. Knight back to d7, f4. But now Ethan just plays f6 and says, okay, Your knight is completely trapped. All of these squares are defended. Where are you putting this knight? It looks like he's just winning a piece, and he is, except for one trick: the move d4. D4 is the saving idea here, because if you take this knight on g5, let's say f takes g5, opening up this line, well, this pawn is attacked twice and only defended once. It only makes sense to capture it. And if you capture back, you're losing. You're losing. Bishop takes d4. Black is completely getting in. So what is the idea here? The idea is to sack another pawn with e5. And now black has to be careful. If you take with the pawn after queen to c2, black is lost, because I am getting in on this diagonal and I am down a piece, but your king is wide open. And apparently, this is completely winning for the white pieces. Crazy computer chess. Maybe a top level grandmaster sees this in classical. I have no idea. I don't even know how you begin to see an idea like this. Um, but after f6, Sam goes wrong with the move a4, completely missing the computer like plan by playing d4 and starts pressuring on the queen side. But now, bishop to e3. Very, very classy move. Ethan not playing takes and allowing white f takes g5 and a pass pawn to come in, starting with the move bishop to e3, pressuring this pawn. He's going to take here first and then take on g5. Big, big difference in not allowing this pass pawn in this open diagonal. White now plays d4, but now it's a little too late. After e takes f4, bishop takes, takes, and I take on g5. And now you don't get your pass pawn. Yes, you have this diagonal, but everything is defended. There is nothing here you can do. White plays queen to f1. Black plays knight to b6, pressuring the light squared bishop, and now e4. At this point, Sam is getting very desperate. He needs to find a way to open this king. He's hoping that he can open up and bring this other rook in. And this is kind of what Ethan was doing the entire tournament. He is in over the board, I believe these are classical ratings. I think he was like a 300 plus point deficit in this game, or underdog in this game. And he was doing this to every single grandmaster. He was blitzing on the clock. Sim Sevian is down to seconds at this point when Ethan still has like 2 minutes in this position. Just pushing on the clock, playing moves that aren't blunders, and being the lower rated player, you are going to force the higher rated player to try and pressure you and attack you. They're the ones that have to prove something. You can just sit back, let the tactics come to you, and that's exactly what he does when he finds the f6 move. And against every player he's playing. And here, he just calls his bluff. He says, okay, I'm just going to take. And now white plays knight to e4. At this point, sacking now a second piece. You can take this knight later. I'm getting tempo on the queen. The knight is coming in to f6. He needs something in this position. I mean, you have to go desperado mode to try and prove something. But black just plays queen to h4 check, king to g1. He would love to play something like g3, trying to prepare a checkmate, but that would sadly throw the game to this. If he did not play that, which obviously would not happen, but he would love to set up this queen to h2 checkmate idea. So, check, king to g1, and now black just brings his other knight into the game. Knight to e6, pressuring the rook. Yeah, sure. G3, queen to h3, offering a queen trade. Queen trades would obviously lose for black or for white in this position because black is just up 2 pieces. The more pieces we trade, the better for black. White denies it, finally takes his knight on c4. But black just says, what about the rook? Knight takes f4? What are you going to do? Take back? Okay, now g3. And all of a sudden, I'm entering the position. This is looking terrible for white. It's completely over. White plays rook to a2. Kind of a pretty idea. You're just trying to stop this checkmate threat, and you don't want to move this knight yet because you don't want to hang g3. But at this point, Sam Sevian is playing with literally 2 seconds on his clock. Ethan still above a minute. And he finds his beautiful move d5, the killer blow. A lot of things won in this position. Bishop to e6 was good enough. You D5, beautiful idea. You could play bishop to F5, pressuring the knight. But this D5 move really takes the cake. And the reason is, first of all, it's just a clean fork. So when you move the queen, let's say, I don't know, queen takes C7, for example, I'm taking on E4. I'm going to take on G3 if you let me. I'm going to throw this pawn down the board, and it is just game over. Instead, he starts with knight to F6 check. King slides to D8, guarding the C7 pawn. And here, white plays the move queen to C4, or I'm sorry, queen to C5. Black takes on G3 now that the knight from G3, or the knight that was guarding G3 is left. The king slides to F1, and in this position, Sam Sevian runs out of time. His flag falls, and he loses to Ethan Sheehan, climbing him up the rankings. Um, this was completely over for the black pieces anyway. Ethan was not going to lose this game. He was crushing in this position. Continuation could have been something like queen to f3 check, king to e1, knight d3, forking the king and the queen, and it's just over. Even if you try to go the other way, it doesn't matter. I can play knight to h3 now, king h2, and g3 checkmate, which is a beautiful checkmate. The bishop on c8, guarding the knight on h3. Super, super clean way to finish it. And that's kind of how he was just like dismantling these grandmasters throughout. He beat a ton of top level grandmasters, national master, crushing these grandmasters because he was forcing them to come to him. He was just blitzing on the clock, looking for a move that wasn't an instant blunder. And the grandmasters, they wanted to beat him. They wanted to push, but they would just push too hard and push too far. Which brings us to our next game.
Yeah, bishop g4. I can't believe it. I mean, nowadays, it's like e takes d4, queen takes. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Hey, do you know who I was just on the phone with? Nobody. That was just for the skit. Have you considered subscribing? Did you know it was free? And what are better things in life than free things? Plus, it just helps me out. We're just starting out here. Why don't you consider it? Now, if you don't mind. I gotta go back to this. You gotta go back to the video. Yeah. So, queen takes d4, knight c6.
That brings us to our next game, Ethan Sheehan versus Hikaru Nakamura. So, for those that don't know, Hikaru Nakamura, #2 in the world, constantly at the top of the Chess.com Blitz, breaking the Blitz record. Like, it feels like every single month at this point he gets a new high in Blitz. Also came out to show support for Daniel Naroditsky and to play the Blitz tournament. And he now has to face Ethan Sheehan. Like I said, he was familiar with Ethan Sheehan because he knew him from online Blitz. He's 3100 Blitz. They played games together. And this was a really exciting game to watch. Ethan starts with the move e4. And Hikaru decides to go with the Sicilian, pushing aggressively against Ethan. White plays knight to f3, d6, bishop b5, bishop d7, trading, castles, and e6. I can't remember the name. I think it's the canal. It says the canal defense, the Sicilian. I think there's a different name that I'm just forgetting. I swear it was a completely different one. But a little bit of an easier system for, I think, white to play. You're eventually going to try and break in the center. There's also plans of like c3, d4, or you can play what Ethan plays in the game, which is c4. And he's trying to play a Maroczy bind system. Not the most accurate way to play. I think c3, d4, or d4 immediately is the most accurate. But this is still totally, totally fine. Trying to get like a Maroczy bind set up with eventually playing d4, taking back with your knight in the middle, knight to c3, bishop e3. I can just draw the arrows for this. Okay, maybe I can't draw the arrows. Knight comes to d4, knight to c3, bishop to e3, and just trying to hold in the middle, and then eventually play f4 and pushing. And Hikaru finds a nice move of knight to e5. And the idea of knight to e5 is now if you take and black takes back, this line is going to be super, super strong for the black queen. I mean, if you're not careful, I might just throw my queen straight to d3 and just say you absolutely cannot move in this position. Here, you can't play something like rook t3 because I just take on c4. So Ethan does not take. He ends up playing the move d4 immediately, but after takes, it's a little bit of a mistake because now you cannot take with the queen because d4 would just be a completely free pawn. if you tried to win it, e5, and you are now winning this pawn back. It's going to be a miserable game to play. You got to try and break with f4. It is just not going to be fun. Instead, he takes with the G pawn, ruining his structure, but keeping this idea of capturing back here alive, which he does. And Hikaru plays the move bishop to f6, lining up the bishop on this long diagonal and freezing Ethan's light squared bishop. So this is one game where Ethan has kind of gone wrong in the opening. He's doing the same strategy where he's blitzing, and he is up against Hikaru on the clock. He was way ahead of him on the clock. Well, not way ahead. He was a bit ahead of him on the clock, but it's a misfire in this position. He's completely misplayed the opening, and Hikaru is just better out of the opening. So how does a top-level player try and convert? Ethan moves back to d3, knight to e7, knight to c3, normal developing moves, knight to g6, and now Ethan plays f4. Black decides to castle, and now bishop to e3. So Ethan trying to find a way to free up his pieces a little bit. And here there is a nice tactic that Ethan missed. This f4 pawn is a little bit soft, right? It's only guarded by one piece, and there's one attacker on it. How do I add a second attacker? Well, it would be really nice if one of these two pieces that are touching the dark squares can hit this pawn. There's really only one way to do that, and that's the queen getting to either f6 or h4. How do I get the queen there? Bishop takes c3. You do not want to take with the pawn on c3. You are just completely damaging your structure, and while you protect this for a second, you cannot play something like queen to d2, because now queen to h3, and my knight is coming to h4. I have knight f3 coming, and you are getting crushed. It is borderline game over at this point. Completely lost according to a computer. So you have to take with the queen, and now queen to h4. And this f4 pawn becomes very, very delicate. You cannot protect it. Ethan plays the move f3 with the idea that after Hikaru takes, queen to d2, and I am attacking both the d6 pawn and the f4 knight. Hikaru also could have slow played the position a little bit, most likely, like something like rook f to d8, trying to break with d5, and then maybe coming with rook a to c8 later. Decides to immediately take here on f4, which is, I think, maybe the best move of the computer. Totally fine. Queen to d2. And now, again here, Hikaru can actually just come back to g6. If you take here, very, very dangerous. I'm coming in with rook to d8. And I mean, my rook is getting in the position. It's going to be very tough for white with all the active pieces black is now all of a sudden getting. Instead, knight to h3 check, totally a fine move too. King to h1, and decides to bring the other rook to d8. Now, I don't think this was intentional from Hikaru. I think maybe he just had a quick slip. Maybe he did completely think that taking on a7 was just not an option and not very scary at all. But Ethan does take him on his take him for his word and takes on a7. What he could have done instead was bring the other rook to d8 with the same exact idea of breaking with d5, and you don't have to hang this a7 pawn. Instead, Ethan takes on a7, and all of a sudden material is back to equal after the pawn he lost, and now black plays the move d5. And it kind of feels like black is pushing. Now, you have to still be careful. You don't want to take this way, because now queen takes c4 is going to still be better for black. But all of a sudden, black has been pushing, but white feels like they're holding a little bit easier. C takes d5, e takes d5, e takes, queen to h5, putting pressure on both the h5 pawn and the f3 pawn. And Ethan, cold-blooded, tells him to take f3 with rook a to d1. Just protects his central pawn. In an instant, Ethan realized that queen takes f3 is better for white. He evaluated after queen to g2. It's just better. You can't take. This is just bad. Although it looks totally fine, it's actually it's worse for black. If you take, let's say, knight takes d5, there's just bishop to c5, hitting the rook. You go here. Whoops. You drop a knight. So he calculated very, very quickly that you cannot play queen takes f3. So Hikaru realizes, and he plays rook to d6. And Ethan jumps out of his seat. He's like, wait, what? What's the problem? Bishop c5? What am I missing? And it's like, wait, am I not just winning material here? Is this not just good? Apparently, best move by the computer is the move b6. which after bishop takes d6, there's queen takes f3, knight to g2. I'm sorry, queen to g2, knight to f3 check, king g1, and a perpetual check. Not sure if that was seen by either of the players, but either way, Hikaru does not want to draw this game. That is not the goal in this position. He needs to win. I mean, he is the higher rated player by a lot of rating points. So instead, he plays rook to g6. He sacrifices the rook on f8. But again, instantly, without thinking, Ethan plays a move queen to e3 and Hikaru freezes. He realized he has made a horrible mistake because after queen to f5, which is Hikaru's next move, it doesn't matter what you play. Let's say queen to f5, I can just take on f8. It's totally free. And after king takes f8, queen to e8 is checkmate. All of a sudden, Ethan Sheehan is beating world number 2 Hikaru Nakamura out of nowhere. Queen to f5, bishop takes f8. Ethan calls his bluff. Hikaru has to play h6, giving his king breathing room. Again, you cannot take this bishop on f8 because you're just getting mated. Now, Ethan just drops the bishop back and says, I'm literally just up a rook and a pawn. I'm just cleanly winning. As long as I do not get checkmated in the next couple moves, this game is over. Hikaru plays knight to f4, trying to create something on this g line. And now Ethan starts with queen to e8 and queen to e4. He could have even just played something like rook to g1 and tried to just trade this off just as good. He checks, king goes to h7 and queen to e4, saying, what are you going to do? Trade queens with me? I'm up a rook. I'm up a whole castle. I'm up a rook. Like, there's nothing you can do in this position. Hikaru plays queen to h3. Now rook to g1, covering the square. And Hikaru drops his knight on g2. Ethan jumps again, points at the clock, and Hikaru flags. And Ethan Sheehan has now beaten a second top level American Grandmaster. Now, he would go on to do this a ton. He was crushing people left and right. He drew Sindarov, who is the World Championship challenger, or this upcoming World Championship challenger. He either beat or drew chess legend Boris Gelfand. He had an unbelievable 2,700 plus performance. It was ridiculous. And he actually ended up getting third place. Let me see if I can pull it up here, all the standings. Oh, here we go. Oh, the scene is not very good for this. But you can see right here, Ethan Sheehan, third place finish in all the games he was playing. This scene is actually very bad for this. But you can see the name right there. With guys, Sindarov, like I said, a World Championship challenger, Wesley So, Andy Woodward, Hikaru Nakamura, Mukita Mataminov, Boris Gelfand, Sam Sevian. I mean, he finished phenomenally. So it was kind of a nice little underdog story coming up during a memorial tournament. Not necessarily a super sad event as people were like smiling and trying to enjoy the memory of Daniel Naroditsky. But it was really cool to see a national master coming in, huge underdog, not even a title next to his name, crushing grandmasters left and right. I think he gained like 80 blitz rating points and another like crazy amount, 40 plus in rapid or something like that. So really excited to see what comes out of this kid, Ethan Sheehan, in the future and what titles he ends up achieving. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. We're just starting out here, just trying to spread chess a little bit. Yeah, let me know. Let me know any feedback in the comments. Always trying to work on audio. Hoping the audio is okay in this one. I'm going to try and play with the editing software a little bit, see if I can bump my audio up a little bit. But yeah, let me know, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.